A political firestorm is erupting in Washington as Karoline Leavitt, the former White House press secretary under President Donald Trump, drops a shocking allegation that rocks the political establishment. She boldly questions who is actually governing the country under President Joe Biden's administration. This statement sends shockwaves through political circles. In response, Representative Jasmine Crockett, a rapidly emerging Democratic voice from Texas, immediately strikes back, with fierce determination, defending President Biden and the progress he's made. What unfolds is not just a heated exchange. It sparks a nationwide debate and ushers in a volatile new era in the American political dialogue. Before delving into the details, the audience is encouraged to share where they're watching from, and to subscribe to stay up to date with developing stories. Inside the Pulse of America studio, powerful stage lights cast a glow over the sleek circular platform, intensifying the already charged ambiance. Host Marcus Tate, with his deep, authoritative voice, begins the program with a solemn introduction. Tonight, we dive into a discussion that's echoing across Washington, and possibly throughout the nation, he begins. A seemingly simple, yet deeply provocative question is shaking the Capitol to its core. Who is genuinely in control during President Joe Biden's tenure? He emphasizes that tonight's discussion isn't meant to pass judgment, but to shed light on the matter, through open, honest, and impartial dialogue. Turning to his guest, his eyes settle firmly on Karoline Leavitt, with a calm but intense expression. Karoline Leavitt, you've captured national attention with your candid remarks about the Biden White House. We'd like to hear your point of view. The room falls silent, the stillness broken only by the faint sound of breaths being drawn. The verbal battle has begun. Leavitt, her blonde hair glowing under the lights, stands tall with composed professionalism that conceals her youth. Adjusting her microphone, she flashes a self-assured smile before speaking. Thank you, Marcus. I'll be straight with the American people, she begins. We've been led to believe that Joe Biden is fully at the helm, but a recently unearthed video suggests otherwise. David Hogg, co-chair of the DNC, openly admits that Anthony Bernal, the top aide to Jill Biden, holds a tremendous amount of influence in the White House. So my question is this: if Biden isn't the one making the decisions, then who is? The audience gasps, a collective reaction of surprise rippling through the room. Crockett tightens her grip on the podium, her sharp gaze locked onto Leavitt. She anticipated an attack. But the cold precision of Leavitt's words strikes a nerve. Tate turns toward Crockett with a somber tone. Congresswoman Crockett, your response? Crockett leans into the microphone, her voice calm and deliberate, shaped by the rhythm of her Texas roots. Let me be clear, Marcus. This isn't some groundbreaking revelation. It's the same recycled talking point used by Republicans to distract from the havoc they've helped create. Joe Biden has steered this country through a pandemic, launched a strong economic comeback, and enacted landmark legislation. To question his leadership is not only misleading, it's an insult to the millions of people who voted for him. The crowd erupts, mixing applause with disapproval. Leavitt remains composed, her eyes fixed intently on Crockett. Congresswoman, she replies, her tone sharp. The American people have the right to know the truth. We know Biden's had cancer treatment, his public appearances are highly curated, and now even David Hogg confirms that Anthony Bernal is effectively directing operations. Are we supposed to pretend that doesn't matter? Crockett's jaw tightens, her fingers tapping the podium softly as she suppresses her rising frustration. She recognizes Leavitt's attempt to provoke her into an emotional outburst for viral effect. But the accusation strikes deeper. It's not just an attack on Biden, but on the entire Democratic Party. Drawing a deep breath, Crockett responds, her voice filled with conviction. Karoline, you're twisting a leaked comment to construct a false narrative. Joe Biden has been honest about his health and has led with strength. Unlike some, he doesn't hide behind social media or golf resorts. He's present, engaged, and making real decisions that impact lives. The audience breaks into chants, some in support of Crockett, others challenging her. Tate signals for calm, his eyes darting between the two opponents. "Let's stay on point," he urges. "Karoline, you've mentioned Anthony Bernal. Can you elaborate on what you believe his role is?" Levitt doesn't miss a beat. Her voice is crisp and direct. "Marcus, David Hogg referred to Bernal as the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes, pulling strings the public never sees. According to White House insiders, Bernal dictates access to the president, manages his schedule, and even influences top-level decisions. If Biden is too weak to lead, as some reports indicate, then it's Bernal and Jill Biden running the show. That's not leadership, that's deceit." Her remarks land with explosive force, stirring murmurs and gasps throughout the audience. Crockett feels her heart race. This isn't just a debate, it's a fight for public confidence that could shape national perception for years to come. "Enough," Crockett says sharply, her voice blazing. "You want to talk about deception? Let's talk about your party leader, someone who spread lies about elections and made money off his office. Joe Biden has a solid record, investments in clean energy, infrastructure, jobs. You're defaming a man who has served this country with dignity. That's disgraceful." The studio trembles with energy. The crowd is split, their reactions a mix of cheers and objections. Levitt, unfazed, raises a brow and counters swiftly. "Congresswoman, emotions don't change facts. The House Oversight Committee is investigating. They've called for testimony from Bernal, Jill Biden, and others. If there's truly nothing to conceal, why avoid accountability?" Crockett glares, her voice now icy. "Accountability? You're in no position to lecture on that. Your administration stripped programs to benefit the ultra-rich. That committee you mention, it's just political theater, chasing headlines, not facts. Joe Biden's medical updates have been clear. His team keeps the public informed. What you're doing is twisting facts to deflect from your own failures." Sensing the tension escalating, Tate steps in. "Let's keep things civil. Karoline, do you have evidence beyond Hogg's statement?" Levitt nods, lifting her tablet and scrolling through prepared materials. "Yes. Reports from former White House staff referenced in Tate's own book describe a tightly managed setting where the president is rarely seen, allegedly to preserve his image. Combine that with Hogg's comments and the Oversight Committee's efforts, and the picture becomes clear. Americans have been misled about who's actually in control." Crockett shakes her head, clearly frustrated but composed. "Marcus, let me clarify. Every president leans on advisors. That's how modern governance functions. Jill Biden isn't manipulating her husband. She's a loving partner and trusted confidant. As for Anthony Bernal, he's an experienced aide, not the villain they're making him out to be. This whole story is a diversion, a distraction from pressing issues like the erosion of health care under the current administration, all while claiming transparency." The crowd stirs again, whispers rising like a breeze across the room. The studio lights dim briefly, signaling a transition to the next segment. When they brighten, Marcus Tate stands center stage, commanding attention, his eyes flicking between Crockett and Levitt. Both women remain unwavering in their stance. Crockett, clad in a sharp dark dress, her curly hair elegantly styled, eyes blazing. Leavitt, dressed in a crisp navy suit, maintains her signature confident smile, seemingly prepared for any rebuttal. Tate smooths his tie, his tone steady and deliberate. We've just heard two contrasting views on President Biden's capacity to lead and the alleged influence of those around him. But this discussion isn't just about one leader. Every administration has powerful figures operating behind the scenes: advisors, staff, even family. Lately, public curiosity has centered on First Lady Jill Biden and her senior advisor, Anthony Bernal. He turns to Levitt once more. "Ms. Levitt, you've described Mr. Bernal as the real force behind the curtain. Could you explain exactly what you mean?" The atmosphere thickens, the audience holding its collective breath. Leavitt tilts her head slightly, her piercing gaze directed at Crockett. Thank you, Marcus. Let's call it what it is, a high-level cover-up. David Hogg's own words make it clear. Bernal is steering the administration's messaging, scheduling, and key decisions from the shadows. And Jill Biden? She isn't just aware, she's enabling it. If President Biden can't lead, who is? Making the calls? The audience stirs, some clapping, others shaking their heads. Crockett, still poised, responds with precision. What Ms. Levitt is doing is disgraceful. Jill Biden is an educator and devoted spouse, not some puppet master. And Anthony Bernal is a trusted aide, not a shadow commander-in-chief. This isn't about concern for the country. It's a smokescreen to deflect from actual failures. Leavitt remains unmoved. This isn't speculation. The House Oversight Committee is digging into this. Former staffers corroborate that Bernal has far-reaching control, and Jill Biden plays a role in shielding the president's condition. Crockett's hands tighten into fists. If you want to talk about accountability, look at your own party, pushing division, spreading hostility, and creating chaos. The studio buzzes again. Tate raises a hand for calm and turns to Crockett. Congresswoman, you say this is a personal attack. Then tell us, what exactly is Anthony Bernal's role? Is it as influential as Ms. Levitt claims? Bernal, visibly uneasy, replies that the accusers don't care about the truth. All they want is a narrative that will damage the president's legacy. Jill firmly insists she's only defending her husband, who still makes decisions and signs laws, despite the swirling concerns about his health and peculiar public behavior. Bernal reiterates that all the pardons and official papers had the president's approval. But he warns, if they don't challenge Levitt's claims, the story that she and Jill are really the ones running the country will become accepted as truth. Leaning forward, Jill's voice takes on an uncommon intensity. I'm not afraid to face them, Anthony. If they want me to testify, I will. But I won't stand by and let them drag Joe's name through the mud. He's given everything for this country, through pandemics, through crises. He never gave up. They won't reduce him to a puppet. Bernal nods, but worry remains in his eyes. Testifying is a risk. They'll ask the kinds of questions that don't have safe answers. About Biden's health, about his hardest days. They'll dig into every possible angle to back up their version of the story. I recommend we remain silent. Let the lawyers take care of it. But we need to be prepared. If the committee subpoenas either of us, our accounts must match. Jill shakes her head, bitterness in her tone. Match our story? The truth is that Joe kept working even when he was worn out. Even when the doctors told him to rest. I stood beside him to help, not to control anything. And you, Anthony, you kept the White House running. Schedules, press, everything. Why are we being singled out? Bernal sighs, his usual calm demeanor cracking under the strain. Because we're vulnerable targets. I'm a background player. Few people know me outside the inner circle. And you're the First Lady. A powerful symbol. Damaging your image tarnishes his legacy. Levitt understands this. She's doing exactly what Trump wants her to do. Jill gets up and walks toward the window, her eyes staring into the night. I don't care about my public image. Anthony, I care about what Joe has built. The laws he's signed, the jobs he's helped create, the hope he's inspired. If they want to tear that down, they'll have to come through me. Bernal watches her, a flash of admiration in his eyes. I get it, ma'am, but we must tread carefully. I've contacted our allies in Congress. They're trying to stall the investigation, but if the Oversight Committee subpoenas us, we need a plan. I don't want you or the president to become casualties of political warfare. Jill turns, her eyes unwavering. I'm no victim, Anthony. I've stood by Joe through every storm. If they want the truth, they'll get it, but on my terms. You do what you do best. Keep everything steady. Bernal nods again, offering a slight smile. I will, but I have to warn you. Levitt and her supporters won't back down. They want to see us fall. We have to be ready for anything. Jill sits back down, hands relaxed but eyes locked on Bernal. Let them try, I'm not afraid. Joe's not afraid. And I know you're not either. We've faced worse than this. Soon after the show concludes, clips of it flood social media. Every exchange is cut, captioned, and shared at lightning speed. In Washington, already tense over Biden's health, the atmosphere turns explosive. In a small cafe in D.C., a TV blares a Fox News segment. The host, energized, praises Karoline Leavitt and her boldness in confronting Biden's administration. She asks the questions America wants answered. Who's really running the country, he says. The cafe, filled mostly with Trump supporters, erupts in approval, some even raising their coffee cups in agreement. A clip plays again, showing Levitt quoting David Hogg with cold precision, raising suspicions about Jill Biden and Bernal's influence in the White House. Not far away, in a Georgetown office of a Democratic advocacy group, volunteers crowd around, a television tuned to CNN. The anchor defends Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, calling her a strong voice for Biden's legacy. She stood up to baseless smears. No political theater can erase the accomplishments of this administration, the host says. Applause follows. Volunteers jot down notes for online responses. A young staffer reads a post aloud. Crockett destroyed Levitt. Don't let MAGA rewrite history. The post is viral but packed with critical replies calling Crockett a defender of a failing administration. Another post from a popular account shares a video of Crockett confronting Trump supporters, captioned, Jasmine doesn't back down. Biden's a leader, not a puppet. While it receives praise and fire emojis, it's also bombarded with attacks. Comments say, Crockett yells, Levitt brings facts, or Biden's not running the show. We deserve to know who is. Another post from a MAGA-aligned account quotes Levitt saying, Biden isn't signing pardons, so who is in control? It quickly gains traction. Back at the White House, Karoline Leavitt scrolls through Truth Social. Trump himself has just shared a post. Karoline Leavitt is making America proud. Biden's scandal is a betrayal of democracy. We will find the truth. Thousands of reshares follow, boosting Leavitt's profile as a new face of the MAGA movement. But Leavitt knows the pressure is rising. Journalists are starting to question the foundation of her claims. She texts an advisor, asking for updates from the House Oversight Committee. She's determined not to let the narrative die down. At the same time, in her Capitol Hill office, Jasmine Crockett sits alone, her desk lit by a lamp. Her phone buzzes endlessly with notifications. One message from a voter in Texas says, Thank you for defending Biden. Don't let them destroy his record. She smiles faintly, but it fades when she reads a comment accusing her of lying and covering up the truth. She puts the phone aside and reflects. Was her defense enough to change minds? Inside Democratic leadership, emotions run high. In a closed-door meeting, party figures debate how to respond. One senator warns, Crockett was forceful, but this may hurt us in the midterms. We need to seize control of the story. Another argues back, she did what needed to be done. We can't let Trump reshape Biden's legacy. They leave without a clear path forward. The party remains torn, desperate to protect Biden's record but wary of being pulled deeper into controversy. Across America, the public is just as divided. In an Ohio diner, heated arguments erupt among friends as the talk show replays on the TV. One insists, Levitt is right. Biden looks too frail. We deserve answers. Another fires back. Crockett was spot on. This is just a plot to discredit him. He's done more than they'll ever admit. The debate goes nowhere, reflecting a nation driven more by loyalty and feeling than facts. That night, an unusual scene unfolds at a DC charity event. Jasmine Crockett, in a black dress, crosses paths with Karoline Leavitt, deep in conversation with a donor. Their eyes meet. The room seems to freeze. Crockett is the first to speak, her tone sharp, but quiet. "You think you won that debate, but truth won't stand with you." Levitt answers with a faint smile, her tone light but unyielding. "The truth is coming, Congresswoman. You can't stop it." They part without another word, but their expressions say enough. The fight is far from over. Levitt's accusations and Crockett's passionate defense have carved themselves into the national consciousness. And one question now hangs heavy in the air. Who is really in charge during the final stretch of Joe Biden's presidency? As the spotlight fades, the impact continues to ripple outward. In a modest office on Capitol Hill, Jasmine Crockett sits at her desk, the morning sun casting a warm glow across her determined face. A newspaper lies open before her, its bold headline declaring, "Crockett versus Levitt, the fight for Biden's legacy." She reads a passage calling her a flame that can't be extinguished. But even she wonders, can that flame survive the coming storm? The House Oversight Committee, driven by Republican momentum, presses forward with its investigation, now seeking testimony from Bernal and Jill Biden. Crockett knows that her fiery speech won't end the battle. She begins drafting a new one, vowing to keep defending Biden's accomplishments, from economic recovery to clean energy, against the ever-stronger political winds. A few blocks away at the White House, Karoline Leavitt stands in the press room, before a mirror, adjusting her blazer. An advisor enters, handing her a report on social media trends. Praise floods in from Trump's base. But Leavitt doesn't smile. Behind the praise, criticism is mounting. Reporters are now demanding more than David Hogg's testimony. She gazes through the window, eyes locked on the Capitol dome. This is just the beginning, she thinks. With fierce ambition, she readies her next moves, vowing to ensure that the debate over Biden